welcome to Babylon with Vampa, the show where I, Vampa Delombra, and my co-host Dad McMahon
Hey!
interview all sorts of entertaining, interesting, unique, and creative individuals from the Detroit area. So if you or someone you know want to be a guest on the show, leave me a comment here or on any of my social media accounts, or give me a message and we will set something up. And don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, all the things on all the social medias that make the algorithm happy. So, Dad, how was your weekend?
Well, I went to a barbecue. I was enjoying some ribs. Everything was going great. And then I found out I was eating my brother, Terry.
Ooh, that's grim.
Well, life can be like that sometimes.
I guess. Was Terry at least delicious?
He was finger-licking good.
Dad, you don't even have fingers.
I know. That's how tasty he was.
Oh, Dad. And now I'd like to welcome my next guest to the show, Max Grean of Christweasel.
Hi.
Greetings, Max.
How you doing?
I am just ghoulish, as always.
Ghoulish, yeah. I like ghoulish things.
Yes, of course. It's a little. This time of year is a little humid at this level of hell, but you know, at this point I'm used to it.
I enjoy the heat myself.
I do too.
I prefer to be sweating than freezing.
I am the same way, which is why I think hell is the perfect place for me.
It is too. All the fun people here.
That's true. That's true. I've been to the other side, up, and it was really boring, and I had to just get out quick. So thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Absolutely.
Talk about your experimental musical project.
I do quite a few things around town, and right now I'm focusing on a show coming up where I occasionally do a live performance of something that I've done since forever by myself in my room. And a few years ago, people encouraged me to take it out on the show, and once or a couple times a year I do it.
Cool, very cool. So tell me when and how you got started doing Christweasel.
Back in the 90s, I was in bands. I've been doing art and music since I was young, 12, 13. I started playing guitar. And in the 90s, we would have garage bands. We never really played out at bars or anything. We didn't do any shows, but we would have garage things or basements and attics and hang out and just mess around with stuff. And one day I was messing around with a couple of tape decks, a 4-track, a 2-track, a bunch of other stuff, and I would record just everything. So then I took like some of the weird accents, like the bass player got mad and threw his bass across the room. So I took the crying and looped it up. And one day was making I was on my 7th or 8th layer. So it was getting really crazy, going through echoes and everything, and I'm twisting knobs. And one of my friends was like, Christ, he's weaseling the hell out of those knobs. And that just made me smile. I was like, yeah, I felt good, it was a good time. And then after that, it was like, Christ, weasel, Christ. And at first it was 2 words. Eventually it just became 1 word. But that's how it was birthed. It has nothing to do with Jesus. It's got nothing to do with not knocking any religion. It's the expression Christ, not the person.
Interesting.
So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
So how would you describe Christweasel for anyone who hasn't heard it?
Well, it's an electronic layered cake, mostly, but it evolved. It evolved with the instruments. It's always been about the gear. What gear I have is how complicated I can get and what type of song I can create with it. Like early on, I just had some basic tape decks and a cut and paste mix function on an old computer or something. So I would just take snippets and cut and paste and make little things and layer things up and stitch them together and make a full song. But now, for the live thing, that's different. Now I have samplers and like Ed Sheridan with his little looper machines, he gets up there and does his thing and all that. And I like him, by the way. He's badass.
Who's that?
Ed Sheridan, super pop guy.
Oh wow, okay.
Just plays super poppy songs on like Taylor Swift type area of music. But the dude's like covered in tats and he's like totally punk rock. But what he does is really cool with the layering thing. So I got a layering, and I can do sampling, and I can have my drum machine, and now with the mixer and everything, I can plug in everything. I can have a guitar, I can have a bass, I can have a drum machine, I can have whistles and wobblers and whatever, and I can literally make a pop song or a country song or a punk rock song or industrial. Mostly I do a noisy industrial type stuff because it's electronic and noisy industrial. And live, I haven't seemed to do much like a traditional pop song or traditional rock and roll song or something like that live. I've done a couple like in the basement for like live streamings that came out kind of like, there's one song called Sunshine that's kind of like just a jingle jangly. It just came out that way. But usually so far live, this coming up show you probably won't get that. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, is it gonna? So I've listened to a good portion of your catalog on Bandcamp to prepare for this. So is it going to be more like your most current stuff that even a cave weasel can do it?
No, it'll probably be just before that, like the disco walls or the live at the New York, no, not New York, Brooklyn, over there behind Lager House.
Okay.
There's a live set, more like that.
Okay.
I'm doing something a little different this show. I try to do something different every time. I have some new samples programmed in, some new drum loops programmed in. I have one karaoke style song I'm going to do because I want to try and form a post-punk new wave type synth pop band.
Oh, cool.
So it's like that kind of song. So I'm going to do that song just like kind of like, hey, if you want to do this with me, do it. And then it's going to be the usual, everything's made up after that. I got a couple pre-programmed beats because that's boring. Nobody wants to watch me sit there and go dee 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 for an hour and a half just to get a 3-minute beat going, you know. Yeah. So I got a few of those pre-programmed and some new ones. And then what it is the upcoming show is called Solofest. And what it is people like me, which just one guy and some machines or instruments doing their thing. I have a straight up noise act that's just going to be crazy noise stuff. I don't know what he's going to do. Then I have Beatbox Jake, who does like the traditional 80s style. He gets his looper machine going, and then he just wails. I mean, the dude plays like Eddie Van Halen and shit. It's like, he just goes nuts. It's really good. He's got some good songs. He sings. He does all that. It's really good. And then Scum Queens is like a industrial one-man, what does he call himself? The gay something? I don't know what he calls himself, but he's catchy.
I can't think of what he says either, but I follow him and I've seen him.
Yeah, he's got a catchy catchphrase, although I'm failing. It must not be that catchy. No, it is really catchy. It's gay something. Anyways, I saw him. A few of these people that inspired me to do it.
Okay.
I was playing in a band called Death Cat, and we did a bunch of shows. And like every other show or a bunch of shows in a row, there was a single man band on the deal. Scum Queens, Yeti, Barbara Jean Machine, who are also on the bill. We'll get to them in a second. And so I was like, oh, okay, so he's on there, and then Barbara Jean's on there, and she does her one woman disco dance machine action with her little array of buttons. And then Yeti is a little different. Now he plays the drums while he pushes his buttons and does his thing and sings and stuff. So it's going to be really cool. And then if all goes right, we're going to have an all-out freak out at the end where we all just go at the same time, just start pushing buttons and wailing and making noise and having a jam fest.
That sounds like nothing I've ever been to be honest. Like in a very good way. Like
and that's
unique.
That's not talking about the lights I have planned to set up or the artwork and the flashing statues and whiz bangs and twirlers. I have planned on setting up. Yeah, I plan on getting there really, really early and decking the place out and going all out for this and doing a
Where is this going to be and when?
Corktown Tavern, July 13th, I think.
Yes.
It's my show.
You
I should know this. I do a lot of stuff. It's on my board for a reason.
Yeah.
In big bold in my color letters too. I have a color coded board because I do my own thing. I do Uncle Ghoulie TV, which is filming bands around town, and I post them up on my YouTube channel, Uncle Ghoulie TV on YouTube. Subscribe, and then I do the Salem Rex, which is like outlaw country-ish garage rock, 90s garage rock type of band.
Okay.
And then I'm in Moaning Dwarf, which is a noisy punk rock band, sort of, sometimes bluesy, jammy. And then I also do promoting shows, and sometimes if friends come from out of town, I'll book a show for them or whatever.
So you got a full plate.
Yeah.
It is July 13th though. I looked that up before our interview. So July 13th at Corktown Tavern in Corktown, obviously.
Yeah.
So back to Christweasel, what inspires you for specific tracks? I mean, you said in general you were inspired by some of the other one-person acts that are
to put this together. Yeah, I was inspired because we were watching one of the other bands play before we went on, and I'm just sitting there going, wow, there's just so many single bands. There's a duo fest. I'm talking to myself in my head. I'm like, there's a duo fest in Ferndale. They do duo fest. Why isn't there a solo fest? Somebody should do a solo. Hey, I met somebody. I'm doing solo fest, and about a year later, this is like a year ago that I cooked all this up.
Wow.
Like I finally had the time and found a place to do it that was within reason for the pocketbook and all that good stuff. So
that's very cool. So this is the first solo fest.
First solo fest. So anyways, Christweasel is inspired by various different things. That was that. You mentioned that So Easy a Cave Weasel could do it. Okay, a friend of mine, Scott Boatwright, who does 11 Mile Sessions, and he was on FM radio back in the 90s. He was involved in the noise scene, and being with his radio show, he had tons of CDs. Well, he didn't want, he's like, I'm not going to listen to these anymore. Here, he gave me this huge box full of these noise CDs, and I'm going through them, and some of them are just so easy. A cave weasel could do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes as an artist, when I see somebody else's art, I don't want to feel pretentious or like I'm judging or anything, but some things it's like, oh, well, that one, it's easy. I can do that.
Yeah.
We all do it, right?
I think that's like one of the seeds of inspiration.
Right, yeah. So a lot of times the old Geico commercials will pop in my head because I love those. The Caveman TV show was freaking awesome. Hilarious. So that pops in my head when stuff is really super easy. So easy a caveman could do it.
Yeah.
And I'm making all this Christweasel merchandise for the show. Cool. And it popped in my head. And I'm doing Weasel Apocalypse and Weasel this. This is Weasel Wear. So I'm making all these Weasel stupidity things going on. What the hell. And that popped in my head. So I made, I don't know, 3 records in a couple, like 8 hours or something of those. And then the last one, Jason's 3-Minute Ham Hock. That was inspired by one of those records was cool, and I tried to post it, but YouTube kept copyright blocking me and knocking it down. And I kept going, well, what's copy? So I chopped this out. It's got to be that. I chopped that out. Nope, it's not that. I chopped that out. Nope, it's not. So finally I said, you know what? I'm just going to take this and make my own track and turn it into my own track and call it 3-Minute Weasel. At 3-Minute Ham, I could throw it up there and it worked. So,
wow.
So inspiration comes from anywhere, everywhere.
So one of the samples was copyrighted on that one, right?
I don't know. They had used Madonna. It sounded like somebody was running a tape deck or a radio through his machines and warping it all out. And you could hear there was a Madonna track came in there for a minute.
Okay.
And then there was a rap track. I couldn't spot the artist, but I could recognize it from way back when it was
Right.
kind of a popular song. So I thought it was him, and I kept chopping bits and pieces out, and then finally I was like, screw it. And I just took that whole record and sampled bits and pieces and rearranged them and flipped them and screwed with them and turned them into that track.
Wow. So besides samples, what other types of ways do you get sounds?
I make them. I have keyboards. I have several old school keyboards. Nothing crazy, nothing special. I have a xylophone. I've got all kinds of little knockers and tick-tockers and zip-zappers. And I've got several guitars that I can pick from, a couple acoustics, a couple electrics. I've got a couple different basses that have different tones on them.
Mm-hmm.
I have a shit kick drum kit, you know, that I can get stuff on. I did a record with Richard Haynes. Richie Haynes, what did he call that record? I don't know, but it's a buddy of mine. He plays bass, and he had these songs that he's an EKG. He plays punk, real hardcore, like real punk stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he had these hilariously silly little songs, you know, little ditties. And he just plays them on the bass. He wanted to turn them into something, so he asked me if I could help him out and do something with it. And I found that super fun. It was a challenge, and he came over. We recorded all his lines, and then for the next month or so, I just sat with it and with all my little junk, and I played very little guitar on it. There's some acoustic guitar, but I play mostly. I play a tambourine. I play a kazoo. I play just the xylophone. I've got some iron skillets in different sizes. They have different tones that I use like a drum kit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's all that's on there. That was super fun.
Yeah, I mean, I had to ask just listening to it, because some of the stuff I could tell, like, I'm like, okay, this is guitar.
Yeah.
This is, like, keyboard sounds, but then other things I was like,
Yeah, the live show
is.
now, I tend to have like, it ebbs and flows to where it's mostly electronic and I'm manipulating stuff and doing this and that with the thing. And then sometimes I'll layer up the keyboards, I'll pick up the guitar and layer some of that in there.
So when you're live, is it, like, are you doing, like, an improv type thing, or are you doing, like, stuff that you've recorded?
It's mostly 98% improv.
Yeah.
Like the drum beats are pre-recorded because, like I
Okay.
said, they're kind of boring to watch when you're create live, unless I do something like super simple where it's just like, and that's the entirety of the drum beat for the whole song. Then I might build that live right there.
Yeah.
Because that's real easy. But the more complicated drum beats, the more longer loops, then those I build at home. I have them pre-programmed to go.
Yeah.
And I have a couple things canned in case I get stuck. You know what I mean?
Right.
To where I can just go, send that off and keep everybody entertained while I go, okay, what do I do? Oh, God, what do I do?
That's fun.
Yeah.
Do you find it's more, like, it's easy for you to do something, like, improvisational like that, or to be in a band where it's like, here's the song, and we learn the song, and we play this?
Well, they both start in the same place.
Yeah.
You know, you're both of them basically are just making stuff up, or you take a riff and you work with it. I find it more challenging to write an actual song and learn it and play the same parts in the same spot every time it comes around.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit more challenging than to just make stuff up as you go, especially with the noise stuff, because there's really no wrong notes. You can't play a sour note if it's just chaos, you know.
Yeah.
Sour notes are sometimes good.
Right.
So, but when you're writing a traditional song and you're playing like a regular rock song, then you have to be a little bit more precise, a little bit more, and especially if we want to write something popular, you're like, okay, well, what's going to be catchy? Where should I go from here? You know, you throw out 3 or 4 ideas, and you're like, okay, that's the best one. Let's go with that.
Yeah. I would think, too, that the having to memorize some things is the challenging part, too.
Yes. I recently just tried to challenge myself with some King Crimson, and I'm used to memorizing like 5 to 8 passages, patterns, you know, maybe 10 patterns. This is like 15, 30, 40 patterns
Right, yeah.
deep, and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to remember? It's not so much playing it that's the hard part, it's
Yeah.
just remembering all the sequences and how they go.
Yeah.
And then it is hard to play it because it's relentless.
Exactly. So back to talking about Solofest. Who's up on the lineup besides yourself?
Rough Tongue, the noise artist.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of new to the music stage, the front of the stage, but he's done the behind the scenes work around town for a while. He's known around town for doing, helping out with videos and stuff behind the scenes. Beatbox Jake is gonna bring his thing. Scum Queens is gonna do his thing. Barbara Jean Machine is gonna do her thing. Yeti's gonna do his thing. I'm gonna do my thing, and then hopefully at the end we're gonna do a jam out, old school, wild, go for it, freak out fest.
That's gonna be very interesting. That last.
Yes. I've been in talks with the sound guy. I've requested a specific person that I feel is like up to the task, and hopefully I've got the stage designed so that all of the gear is like always there. Everything's plugged in and on from the beginning of the night. It's just each person will step up and do their thing, leave the stage, the next person will step up to his gear. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, maybe, the front guy might slide his to the side or something.
Yeah.
Because I have it set up like a 1, 2, 2 kind of a pyramid tier kind of deal. And he might just slide his to the side or something, I don't know. It might not be that intrusive. I don't know how much. Well, Yeti's he does kind of cool stuff. Mm-hmm. I am allowing the artist to have like a dancer or a crowd worker, but they can't be making no noises. They can't be playing no noises. They can dance. They can hand out flyers. They can tickle the crowd, whatever.
Yeah.
I know Barbara Jean has Bernice that dances with her all the time. So, and Yeti usually has some creature help him hold the piñatas and stuff like that, dance around with him. So
this is gonna be fun. I'm excited about this. Do you think this will be an annual thing or just a one-off?
I'm hoping so. If it goes off well. You see, when I did this, people were. I know a lot of also singer-songwriter, like with the acoustic and type of deals, and a few of them threw their name in there, and I was like, I want this to be different. I mean, I don't want singer-songwriters. We see that around town, and sometimes we see a show with just them. So I want this to be the weird button pusher. But if it goes well, I'm thinking having like inside. Having a band, I don't know if I'm going to do it at Corktown Tavern every year or wherever it is, having like one stage inside where it's the electronic freakout fest with all the lights and everything, and we can get like the techno raving type situation going, and then like outside in the backyard have a bonfire going with like the singer-songwriter people out there with their acoustics doing back and forth, one stage is on, one stage is off, and expanding it a couple hours longer maybe. I don't know.
That's like a great yin-yang experience.
Yeah.
You can be like real super tense with the noise stuff and then chill out
out back
with the
acoustics.
Even though honestly I find a lot of the Christweasel stuff I listened to be like oddly calming. I don't know what that says about me, but
some of it's like ambient trance. I call it trance because it's so repetitive, and it's like you get into like this zen like trance.
Yeah, totally. I get that. That's how I felt. So where can we listen to Christweasel?
YouTube on Uncle Ghoulie TV. Uncle Ghoulie TV has multiple channels on different places like Rumble and I don't know what they're called, Odyssey, a bunch of the other YouTubes.
Yeah.
The competitors. But mainly on YouTube, that's where everything goes first. Bandcamp is where you're going to get most of, if you want to buy physical merchandise, that's where I sell CDs, that's where my record, I also have a record company, a record label. I produce tapes and stuff mainly my own, but I have a small label where I do some live. I produce some of my live stuff on cassette and sell it, and I produce my own stuff. I put out Assembly Plant is another band I do, and I put out a 45 on there. Oops. Yeah, so Bandcamp, you can find Christweasel, Assembly Plant, Green Crayon Records, all that good stuff is over there. I also did, I do some weird stuff sometimes, like I didn't want to call it Christweasel, it was a specific project. I have some toys that are called Paper Jams, and they're like little toy guitars that have like simple functions and simple buttons.
Yeah.
And then there's like a simple little drum pad thingy, and there's a microphone with little effects and stuff. It's for kids, it's toys. And I'd see them all the time at thrift stores, and I collected them because they were fun. And I have a bunch of them hanging in my wall. And it's like one of those guitars, then a band flyer from one of the shows, and another guitar, and just a bunch of stuff on my wall. And I thought that, but I have some that work, and I did one with a band called Untested. I did a show with Jamie Cherry. We do a thing called Untested, and I played one of them at the show. Doing with all my things. So once I collected the whole band equipment, I thought Paper Jams, Paper Boy, the Paper Boy. So there's a band called the Paper Boy, and everything is created with those toys.
Wow. And do you have a Bandcamp of that?
Yeah, that's on Bandcamp too.
Okay.
That's just strictly on Bandcamp. There's no physical. It was just a one-off. Fucking what the hell? And all the songs are like the morning edition, and all the news is fit to print. And it's just silliness. I don't know what came over me to do that, but it was fun.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So, Solofest, July 13th, Corktown Tavern. Check out Christweasel and Paperboy on Bandcamp and Uncle Ghoulie TV on YouTube and or any other
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of
YouTube-y
stuff. Just keep following the links.
websites.
Dig in the rabbit
Google
hole.
it.
Go down the go down the Uncle Ghoulie rabbit hole.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank my guest today again, Max Grean, for coming down to our little cozy level of hell, the Hoarders level.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
It's a good time.
Glad to hear it. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.